Well, welcome to the Econobox garage. A bit of a break from working on the hardtop today, and a problem's cropped up with the tach, so I'm going to work on that. Now, I've been driving the car around a little bit with the weather warming up, and one issue that's come to light is the tachometer is starting to bounce around a bit and make some funny noises. But what would happen, you'd hear a scraping noise and the needle would bounce quite a bit. So I'm just wondering if something is a little bit out of alignment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the tachometer and then get a close look at what's going on there. And it's fairly simple. There's two nuts on the back holding a clamp pin, the cable itself, and two lights, one for the high beam and one for the gauge itself. Okay, so I'm just going to reach in behind and take all the lights out. That one there, that's, I think I might undo the thumb screws first. So there's one of those little thumb screws. Put that up there. And the other one. There's the other one. So that will loosen the tach. Okay, slide the clamp off the back. And then should be able to pull the tach out of the gash. And then there's the bracket. There's the bracket that holds it in. Now I can get a better hold on the thing. Unscrew the cable. And get the last light out. And there we have the tachometer out of the car. So let's have a look at this and see what potentially the issue is. All right, while I'm working on this, the tach, and I've got it out, I think what I'm going to do is reroute the actual cable a bit. It comes out of the firewall here, and then runs down behind the heater box, comes around this corner here, through this bracket, and into the back of the generator. Now, in looking at this a little bit and looking at other cars, I think I have this bracket here mounted on the wrong side of the solenoid. So seeing as I wanted to lubricate the cable properly, anyway, I'm going to pull the cable right out. And while I have it out, I'll flip this bracket over to the other side so it's a straighter shot coming out of the generator, and it's add less and less of a radius on the curve going in behind the heater box. Here's the tach, and I can't see any physical damage on the outside of it. So I'm going to have to disassemble it. Now there's 6 tabs on the bezel part itself that clamp to the housing, and the idea is that you would rotate those tabs to line up with the slot. Now there's 6 of those tabs around the perimeter, and what I'll do is I will bend each of those tabs up a little bit to loosen the bezel relative to the housing, rotate the housing so the tabs line up with the slots, so I can pop that off. So I'll loosen the 2 screws on the back so that I can remove the mechanism from the housing. Well, I'm very confident that there's nothing mechanical wrong with the unit, the gauge itself. There's nothing that I can see physically between all the moving pieces. And if I pull the needle around all the way, it bounces back quite freely with no hesitation or stopping. I have the cable all lubed up, and I just used white lithium grease and sprayed it or through the housing and then put the cable in. And that seems to be turning quite nicely. So I'm fairly confident that that has cured the issue. Now, just got to put everything back together, and it's essentially the reverse of assembly or disassembly. Before I put it back together, I'll give the glass very good clean here, and then I can put things back all into one piece. Okay, I've dropped put the mechanism inside the housing, and I've lined up the screws on the back, so I'll just get those tightened up. So I've got those screws tightened up, and I've made sure that the high beam lighting hole lines up with this socket here, because that's where the blue light goes in that I mentioned in an earlier video. And I'm just going to give the face of this a quick clean with a clean cloth before I put the face back on. So I've got a brand new cloth here, and I'm just going to put a bit of window cleaner or Windex. It's slightly damp with some Windex. I'm just going to wipe the So I'm happy that's good and clean now. And now I've just got the glass face down. Let's just make sure that's cleaned off there. Okay, I'm just going to make sure the inside of that glass is very clean. Put it in the thing. I'll get some of this stuff out of the way here. And then I'm going to place the housing with the mechanism secured back in place over the bezel. And then just a reverse of putting it on is I'm going to hold it up now and then just twist this to about halfway around. And then I'm going to gently push down these tabs to lock things in place here. Now I am going to have to make sure that they're folded down completely flat, otherwise it's not going to sit on the dashboard properly. So I'll just go around with that. And obviously I don't want to use a hammer or anything, so and there we go. That's good and firm. Nice and cleaned up. I'll give the glass face a clean once we get it back in the car. And I'm quite happy with that. Before I put this back in the car, I'm going to reinstall the cable itself with their relocated tab by the starter solenoid. So let's get over to the car and look at that. Okay, so here's the bracket I'm talking about right down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to loosen that nut right there, flip that over so it's coming on this side of the solenoid, and that'll give me a straighter shot to the little gear housing. And I'll flip that off to this side a little bit. So I've got a straight shot up to there, a gentler curve going in between the battery and the heater box, and then back into the dash on that side. Okay, so I've realigned this little gearbox. So it's a smoother turn to the bracket there, and a nice smooth turn in behind the heater box and between it and the battery. And then it goes up through with a nice gentle curve up into the firewall here, and the grommets in place. So now that's done. I've tightened everything up. We can go back inside the car. I'll just see if I can point this stuff out for you. So that's the light for the high beams, the one that I put the blue transparent paint on it. This itself, that's the bulb for the gauge light. There's the ground that hooks to one of the posts, and there's the cable where it comes through. And that'll be ready to go into the back of the tachometer. You can see I have the high beam light in place and the gauge light. I just have to hook up the cable to the housing, and then I can slide it into the hole and put the bracket on. Well, there we go. I have the tachometer back in place. The ground wires hooked up. The two lights are in place, and the actual cable is on the back as well. So let's get the car fired up and see if we've fixed our problem. Well, I just got back from a spin around the block, and the tachometer is not making any noises that it's not supposed to. So I'm quite happy with that, and I'll call that job done. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to share it with your friends. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget that little bell icon. Click on that, and you'll get notified when the next video comes out. And there's a link in the description below to any merch with like the shirt and the hat that I'm wearing. And I've just added a bunch of new merchandise with the Bugeye logo on it. If you missed the previous video, I'll put a link up to that up in the top corner. And if you'd like to see where we started this whole project, I'll put a link in the bottom corner. My name is Ian. This is the Econobox Garage. We'll see you next time.